in this time, like in this age, we're probably more separated than we've ever been from other people, because we're independent and self-made and whatever made up, stupid comments that we make about things in life. We're not self-made and we're not independent, and we need other people, and we were made for that.
Welcome to What's the Story? My name is Matt Edmondson, and this is a podcast full of stories about faith and courage from everyday people. And today I am chatting with Peter Awad about his Christian journey, challenges that he's had to face in life, and some of the lessons that he's learned along the way. But before we get into all of that, one of the things that I love to do is give a bit of a shout out to past guests and episodes. And it makes sense, Peter, given that you're on the podcast, that we give a shout out to Mr. Jared Mitchell, who introduced us. You can find Jared's story, episode 20, Finding Meaning in Life. And also the other episode that's worth mentioning is the other guy that we also have in common, which is Brett Curry, episode number 11. He talked about his mum dying of cancer and how that drew him closer to God. So check out both of those. You can find our entire archive of episodes and live streams on our website for free at whatsthestorypodcast.com. And whilst you're there, be sure to sign up for the newsletter, and each week we will email you the links along with the notes from the conversation. They get sent straight to your inbox, totally free. It's all automatic, so why not give it a go? Now, this episode is brought to you by Crowd Online Church. I fully appreciate that not everybody wants to go to church. And I also appreciate that not everybody that does want to go to church can actually get into a church building. And this is where online church works super well. It is a safe space to explore the Christian faith. And the thing that I love about Crowd Church is that you get to join in and shape the conversation as well. So if you've never been to church before, or if you're looking for a new church, why not check out Crowd Church? Their website is www.crowd.church, or you can email me directly, matt@crowd.church, with any questions that you have. So that's who's bringing the podcast. Let's talk about the guest. Peter is an executive coach to Christian businessmen, co-founder of Mission Meets, and founder of Import Auto Performance. He helps kingdom-minded businessmen find purpose, grow their business, and live out their vision without compromising their faith or their values. Oh, he's been mentioned in Forbes and in all kinds of weird and wonderful publications. He's been on one of my other podcasts. He's been on the Push podcast. And as we said last time, Peter, you've been in all these, magazines and all that sort of stuff, but being on our podcast, I'm sure is the pinnacle of it all, right?
The highlight, man. It's an absolute highlight. Thanks for having me.
Oh, mate, it's great to have you. It's great that you're here. Great to be doing this for What's the Story. I'm really excited about this, actually. It's, you know what? The other podcasts we do are great. We do an e-commerce podcast. We do the leadership podcast, as you know, because you've been on that podcast. I love them. I love meeting new people, but there's just something special about this podcast because it's just all about story, and it's all about your story and, how God shaped you and all that sort of stuff. So I've been looking forward to this, man.
Me too. Thanks for having me.
No, it's great that you're here. It's great that you're here. Finally, we get to do this. So for those who are listening and watching, just, Peter, whereabouts in the world are you right now? Let's start with some of the basics.
Yeah, I'm in Southern California in the States.
And I imagine the weather is stunningly beautiful.
It's not today, man. It's cloudy today. And what's funny is because we complain about it when it's cloudy or rainy. And my friends in the Midwest, they say, what are you complaining about? It's still 70 degrees. And I say, we pay weather tax here, and we want it to be nice all the time. So, yeah.
Weather tax. Yeah, fair play. Well, let me tell you, here in the UK, I'm in Liverpool, England at the moment, and it is uncharacteristically beautiful today.
Okay. All right.
We're in that time of life where it's sort of, it's on that sort of seesaw between spring and trying to sort of get a little bit warmer, which is quite nice. So you have a hot day and a cold day at the moment. So yeah, it's beautiful weather. So have you always been a native of Southern California?
No, we've been all over. So I was born in Ohio, grew up in Florida, spent 12 hours. Oh my gosh, 12 years in Iowa. Wasn't 12 hours. And then we moved here like 4 years ago. So we've bounced all over. We just love seeing the country.
Yeah, just all the
Yeah,
different places.
yeah,
And are
yeah.
you a family man?
Yeah. So wife, we celebrated our 19th anniversary a couple weeks ago. Thank you very much. And then 4 kids, 15 down to 8, 2 boys, 2 girls. It's like we planned it or something. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, yeah, yeah. And fun fact, the boys, they share a birthday, 5 years apart. So yeah, yeah, yeah.
I suppose it makes it easy to remember.
That's right. It does.
You've got no excuse to forget.
One less birthday to remember for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. And how did you meet your wife?
So I always like to say we met on vacation, but we met on spring break in the Bahamas, and it's everything you envisioned when I said that to you. So I won't describe it, but yeah, she was 19, I was 20, and the crazy thing is right before we left for that trip, I was headed there with about 30 buddies, believe it or not, and somebody was visiting that I didn't even know it was a friend of a friend, and he called me over and he said, "I hear you're going to the Bahamas." And I said, "Yeah, we're gonna go. We're partying." This was college years. This is when I fell off the rails for a while. And he said, "You're gonna meet your wife there."
No way.
Yeah, and never saw him since. I asked my mom about the story. She doesn't even remember who it was, and so I never got his name. Never got to let him know how it turned out. But it was crazy. I said, "Dude, I'm going to party." He's like, "No, you're gonna meet your wife there."
Well, it turns out he was right. Whoever this chap was.
That's right.
So you met your wife there, but so let me just circle back to something and say you. I think the language you used where you were off the rails then at that point. So,
Yeah.
um, just a bit of context. Had you grown up as a Christian at this point of your life? You kind of had fallen away a little bit, or had you not yet become a Christian at this point of your life?
Yeah, it had fallen away. And it wasn't like a hard fall, but I would say that kind of the typical, wandering through high school years and then, going to college and, just being surrounded by the wrong crowd. Yeah. And so I mean, I grew up it's funny because, I'm 100% Egyptian, grew up down in Florida and, um, I like to say my parents had a business in a trailer park meth town, just to kind of like paint the picture. And we went to Southern Baptist Church, and like they really wanted to assimilate to the culture, which was great. And so I grew up in that. I had a pastor when I was 10 to kind of take me under his wing. He was in his 70s. He noticed that I really liked power tools. My dad, his toolbox consisted of like a flathead screwdriver and a butter knife. Like he wasn't handy, but this best pastor noticed that he's like, man, this kid really likes power tools. And so at 10 years old, I was like sawing limbs off trees, and we were grinding down the metal in the baptismal and repainting it and stuff like that. And that's when I kind of drew nearer. And he's the one that baptized me, and it was a really neat time. Pastor Llewellyn was his name. He passed away a long time ago, but just a great, great man of God. And so I spent a lot of weekends with him in the summers, and and so I was kind of, I was in church, from when I was young till, middle of high school, and then kind of fell away. I was in a different crowd, drinking and that whole thing, and then it was. Around, a little bit shortly after I met Melissa, my now wife, where I got invited to a church that was meeting in a bar, and they were baptizing kids in beer tubs, or like they were like beer troughs, like you would maybe water cattle in or something. And I got there and I'm like, this is pretty interesting, and that's kind of like where I got sucked back into the vortex, and it was really awesome. And it was exactly kind of what I needed at the time in order to draw me back in. It's like Thursday nights downtown Orlando, and that's what brought me back.
So how did Melissa respond then when you sort of went to a place they were baptizing in beer troughs? Was she on the same journey, or was hers slightly different?
Hers was fairly similar, man. She was not off the rails in high school like I was, but I think in college she was also seeking. And so when we had met, we actually started dating long distance because I had a couple of years left and she also did. And around the time that I went to this, beer trough church, she started going back to church. She started going back to church, just around the same time. So it was just really interesting timing. It's interesting how God's working, in our lives. And, you think about this gentleman who, you know, I don't know if you want to say prophesied over me, but just basically let me know that I was meeting my wife. And I totally, I poo-pooed that. And then this timing to get back into church. And it's just really interesting, man, when you see God's hand in your life and you look back in the rearview mirror and it's all so clear. But in the moment, it's just so confusing.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? That happens a lot, though, don't you think? With your sort of your walk with God, there's so much at this point in time you don't understand, but it's only when you I like that analogy, when you look back in the rearview mirror, that actually it becomes clear.
Yeah, yeah. I've got a more recent story, if I may share it. Yeah. So, one of our businesses, the food business, the CPG company Mission Meats, a really hard year last year with post-COVID supply chain breakdown and all that, like a lot of industries were seeing. And really, I've been over the last few years on this journey of self-awareness to try to figure out, God's purpose and on my life and where I'm supposed to go next, the next chapter and stuff. And, so a couple of years of that, couple of years of COVID turmoil and figuring out the journey of Mission Meats and where it's supposed to go. And it was May last year. So just a year ago, where I was walking on the beach. I had taken the afternoon, and I've done this better, more regularly, done a better job of understanding, like, man, my brain's checked out. I need time with God. I need some, just listen to some worship music and pray and think and listen. So I took the afternoon off and I just started walking. And I planned to walk about a mile and listen to some worship music. Well, 1 mile turned into 2, 3, and 4 miles. And I'm praying and I'm listening to worship music. And then I'm listening to this song Endlessly by Josh Baldwin. And I've literally like a crazy homeless man, I'm walking the beach with my hands raised and my eyes closed. I mean, people must have thought I was on drugs or something, right? And there's a line in there which says, "We are ready." And I started praying like, God, I am ready, right? And he believed me, because that's when all the all the chips started to fall, or whatever that phrase is. Everything started going wrong. Everything started going off the rails, and it culminated in my 14-year-old. She was 14 at the time. She had a stroke, and it was at church. And I just remember being like, man, what in the heck is going on? Like, all these things started going off the rails. And it was during that time where a friend came into my life that, I had known him for a little bit, but we weren't really tight. We got really, really tight. And he connected me with an incredible physician, and also man of God, 9 kids. And looking back now, that prayer walk, it kicked off this chain of events now that I'm so thankful for. Like, she is now healed, and it's a miracle, because doctors said she would not heal. And just thinking about all these different things, it's like, man, it really kicked off from that prayer walk. And you're saying God's funny, and we talk about looking to the rearview mirror. It's at the moment, it's like, wait a minute, I had this, I was being faithful, and I was on this prayer walk, and I said I'm ready, and I didn't realize what I was ready for.
Right.
But looking back, he prepared this. And actually, one of the most beautiful things that's come out of this is, like, we have an incredibly deep and profound group of men. We meet every Friday diligently at 6 a.m. at my buddy's coffee shop. He opens it up for us. We have like our private 2 hours before the shop opens.
Oh, wow.
And this group has sparked so much business opportunity and friendship and opportunities to serve and hold each other up, all culminated from that prayer walk. And so in the moment, it's, sometimes there's things that you go through that you don't want to go through. You're praying for blessings and favor and healing, and he doesn't deliver that. And it's because it's actually not what you need.
Yeah.
It's not what it's not. I'm sorry. It's not what you want. It's what you need. And
Mm.
so it's so interesting how God works. And so now it's just like, I think maybe I shared with you before, but the book Living Fearless by Jamie Winship, he talks about just praying like, Lord, what do you want me to know, and what do
Yeah.
you want me to do? And that's it, because we can't handle much more than that. We won't understand it, and it's not going to be our plan.
Hmm.
Like I never would have planned for any of that to happen, but it was actually the most beautiful thing that could happen in the moment. It just wasn't fun.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. I mean, how's your daughter now?
She's great. Yeah, she's healed.
Fantastic. So, what was that journey like?
um, people talk about things that happen in their life, and it's like, you feel like you're in a movie.
Mm.
Like you're like, man, is this really happening? Like, and it was weird. I'll tell the kind of the beginning of that real quick, but I have meetings on Thursday night. I get home late enough to where I didn't see her, and she had been out like having a church gathering that Thursday night, so I don't see her Friday morning. I have 3 morning meetings. One of them started at 6 a.m. I get home at 10. She's acting kind of weird. She's being really kind of quiet. She's chewing on one side of her mouth. Like, it was just really weird. And I'm like asking my wife what's going on. She's like, well, we had kind of a heated discussion last night, and I think she's just being emotional. She wasn't speaking up like she normally does. And she was kind of quiet that Friday. Saturday, better. Sunday morning, we go to church, and she had gotten herself ready, taken a shower, done everything normally. Nothing seemed off. And post church, actually during church service, I find myself like crying and like feeling like, man, I've messed up as a parent. Like, I don't know what's going on. She's being very
Mm.
quiet. And I thought maybe these are teenage years that just kicked in a year later, and she's
Mm.
being a teenager now. But that just wasn't characteristic of her. I get called aside right after church, and they're like, oh, Windsor's trying to drink water, and it's like falling out the side of her mouth, and she's acting really strange, and she almost looked kind of drunk. Actually, it was really odd behavior.
Wow.
Medics come over, and they're like, she seems like she's just having like an emotional breakdown. You should take her to a psychiatrist or something. Well, I walk her out, and I notice that her left arm is kind of drawn in, and she's kind of dragging her foot.
Yeah.
And we end up taking her to urgent care. Urgent care is like, you need to get her to the ER. I take her to the
Yeah.
ER. I can't go in. Only one parent. So Melissa goes in. I'm out just pacing the parking lot for like 2 hours. Well, her CT comes back clear, but her MRI is not clear. And so they end up having me come in. They tell me like, hey, she's getting airlifted to like a hospital that's, 30 minutes away. Do you have any questions? I asked some questions, and the doctor's like,
Yeah.
this is who. I said, what's the healing process? They're like, oh, there's no healing process. Like, this is who she is now. And man, I remember being so angry at this doctor. I won't repeat any of my statements because they're explicit. But so we end up beating the helicopter to the airport, and I get there, and it's just one of those things where you're like, God, what's happening? Like, what is this?
Yeah.
And and it's to see the concern on the doctors' faces, where they're like, hey, the doctor at the ER, she's like, I've been in this hospital 20 years. I've never seen a stroke in a 14-year-old. Like, it doesn't happen. Um, but through those next 5 days, and being in the ICU, and when it was 4th of July, the second night that we were there, so we're watching fireworks out the hospital window with her. um you get angry. And I remember this new friend that I told you about that connected me with a doctor. He's like, um I told him what this neurologist said. He's like, dude, F that guy. Like, he doesn't know the God we serve.
Yeah. That's true.
And so from that point, it was like, okay, this is interesting. And so, and I have faith, but it's just one of those things. Like, you think about the story, Jesus, the parent, the possessed son, and he asked Jesus to heal his son. And what does he say? He says, Lord, I believe, but help my unbelief.
Yeah.
Um, like, I mean, that's definitely what I was feeling in the moment. And that's why I was saying, like, you look back, Matt, and I'm so thankful because it deepened our faith, it deepened our community and our support, and thankfully, his plan for her was to heal,
Mm,
just despite what the doctors were saying, and
yeah.
so it definitely set off a chain of events that's pretty beautiful.
Yeah. How's your and your daughter's fine now, and how does she deal with it?
Um, it's interesting, dude, because I mean, there definitely were some low moments. I mean, not being
Mm,
able to find your words, and she used to play the guitar, and she gave that up in piano for a while. And so there's definitely, I mean, you think about all the things that's going on in your head as a 14-year-old and now 15-year-old. That's enough, but to have
hmm.
that and all those
Yeah.
identities sort of things, and then on top of that to be like, oh well, like I can't find my words and I can't speak properly.
Yeah.
um that was a hard thing, but it was cool, Matt, because I realized how strong she is.
Yeah.
um like, she had to have a spinal tap in the ICU. It was crazy, dude, because she had just eaten. They're telling her about the spinal tap. And the doctor's like, "Oh, you just ate, so in 10 hours we'll do the spinal tap." And we're like, "Oh, so how come? What's the 10 hours about?" Like, "Oh, you can't. We got to sedate, and you can't do that. For 10 hours or whatever the time
Sure.
period was."
Yeah.
She's like, "Unless you don't want sedation." And the doctor was like laughing, and she goes, "Oh yeah, I don't need it. Just go ahead and do it."
No way.
Yeah. And so she ended up getting a spinal tap, no sedation, and there ended up being nurses from other floors that were coming up, and they're like, "Hey, are you the kid? Are you the kid that didn't want to?" And they're like, "We've never seen this before. And so it was cool, man, because you got to see just how tough this kid was.
Yeah.
Never complained. And it was really inspiring, because it's like, as an adult, I never would have done that. And as an
No.
adult, I would have complained constantly, and I would have been extremely depressed. And we didn't see much of that. It was really,
Mm.
really, it was beautiful.
Wow. And so did how old's your daughter now?
15.
And so um is her faith still strong, if I can ask that question?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
She's leading worship on the worship team now.
Fantastic. And is she back playing the guitar and the piano?
She has started to get back. Yeah. Yeah.
Fantastic. Good honor. Oh, well done.
Yeah.
Good show, as we like to say here in England. Well done. The that phrase though that your friend told you, they don't know the size of the God we serve, is such a powerful phrase, isn't it? Because like you say, yes, we've got faith, but Lord might help my unbelief. But fundamentally at the root of all of this is a God that we serve that is bigger than the problems that we face. And
Yeah.
sometimes he delivers us out of them. Sometimes we get delivered through them. Sometimes it's just a big fat mess for a little while and we don't know why.
Yeah.
But God's still bigger than the problems. And I think that's a really powerful statement. You don't know the size. He doesn't know the size of the God we serve.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's mesmerizing. Mesmerizing. Well, I mean, that sounds all pretty full on, Peter. I'm not going to lie. And it's been what, a year and a bit sort of since that time. Is it like it never happened, or is it all still a bit raw? Where are you at on that sort of scale?
Yeah. I mean, it was July 3rd, so not quite a year, about 10
Right.
months from the time of the recording. But yeah, man. I mean, there's I don't know if I fully processed it. I think that it was heavy. It was
Mm,
definitely heavy. Um, I think for me, like I said, deepening of faith, which is cool because I think that, you can either make a left or a right turn. It's kind of a fork in the road moment. Like
yeah.
you're either going to deepen or you're going to draw away.
Mm,
And so for that, I think that I've processed through that. I think that, yeah, I don't know, man. It was heavy.
mm,
I don't know that I've ever felt like that, um, range of emotion in any other time of my
mm,
life.
mm.
Um, but I mean, clearly I can't talk straight. Sometimes when you're asking these questions, it's like I can't get them out. But we're getting there.
Good. Good, man. It's
Yeah.
interesting. I mean, Brett Curry, who we shouted out at the start of the show, in his podcast, he talked about how when his mum died of cancer, that fork in the road, like you say, you go left or you go right, and it drew him closer to God by considerable ways. And you listen to the story and you're like, oh my goodness, I mean, I'm very thankful my mum's still alive and I've not lost my mum to cancer. So I can't really empathize with that situation. I have a 16-year-old. I'm just double checking myself. Yes, she is actually 16. I have a
Nice.
16-year-old daughter who's not had a stroke. So again, I can't empathize. My brother had a stroke during lockdown. My
Mm.
younger brother had a stroke and I couldn't get in the hospital to see him. Normally, I can play that I'm a church minister card and get in most places, but it wasn't working during COVID. And it's it, the fact that actually you go through these things and this is one of the remarkable things about this podcast, actually, the guests that we have on. Something happens in their life. They come to that fork in the road and they don't necessarily get it. They don't necessarily understand it. But they do know that somehow God is going to work something in the middle of it. And they press into God. Because whilst they don't understand it, they know without God it would probably make even less sense. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that I find really, really inspiring. Your daughter's story, just I find it really inspiring. The fact that she's back up doing worship, starting to play the guitar and piano again. She's an absolute legend, man. That's awesome. It's great to hear that, and
Yeah.
it's cool that God is working in the lives of our kids,
Yeah.
in
It's
ways that we
very
can't
interesting.
understand.
And it's funny, you just remind me of something like it's helped me in my coaching because you're talking about, not being able to relate. I know those are the words that you used, but that's what I heard. Like not being able to relate because you haven't gone through those sorts of situations. And I'm finding
Mm,
myself very frequently in situations where somebody's going through something similar, and I'm able to say, "Man, like I don't have to say like, gosh, I don't know what that's like, but I'm sorry." I can still feel what it's like driving down the interstate, hearing the helicopter and pulling into the parking garage and hearing it land on top of the building. Like I can
yeah.
hear that. I can feel it.
Mm,
And so like that has helped me in many coaching situations to be like, dude, I have been there and
yeah.
I know what it feels like and to be able to talk through those sorts of things. And I wouldn't have been able to do that otherwise.
Yeah.
And so like again, it's like God preparing you for the path that you're on. Um, and you don't know what it means or why it's meaningful, but it's a beautiful thing, and I'm with you, man. I think that without God, it's like, how would this make any sense?
Yeah. Exactly. It just wouldn't, right?
No,
It just doesn't. It's
no,
no, it's one of those where yeah, I don't get it, but thank God that you're here with me in the middle of it.
yeah,
And this is why I love doing this podcast. I'm not going to lie, Peter. I love talking to people like you and hearing the stories and just going and you soak them all up. Do you know what I mean? And the Bible's full of stories like this, isn't it? Just ordinary people, something happens, usually not great, and then extraordinary things come as a result, right? It
hmm
just it seems to be one of the key themes of scripture. So you take anybody in the Bible, Joseph, just merrily, happily, just sort of singing and, just having random dreams. Something kicks off, not great, but something extraordinary happens through an ordinary guy. We're just working as a church through the book of Acts. I've just done the talk. Um, it's not come out yet, but it's going to come out in a couple of weeks. How God uses ordinary people to do extraordinary things. And it's kind of like, that's exactly what happens. The church is growing, good things are happening, everyone's happy in their little Christian bubble. Then persecution starts, the whole church scatters, which is not great news, but out of that, some extraordinary things happen. And it's just a really fascinating pattern you see in the Bible over and over again, isn't it?
yes, yeah, yeah. Ordinary people doing extraordinary things. I like how you said that, man. Yeah, we're going through Acts in our men's group, and I think it's fifth or sixth chapter, I think. And it was it was funny because we were talking about just this in seemingly insignificant statement, and you'd know better than I would, Matt. But they talk about the widows feeling like they're being shorted on food,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and and one of them says, we shouldn't be dealing with the basically the grocery budget, like that's for somebody else. And I was telling the group, I'm like, man, what the heck? Why is this in here? This like doesn't even seem like it makes any sense or is important for them to be sharing.
Yeah.
Like, why are there several verses about them dealing with food? And then I'm reading it, and I'm like, man, this is like actually a leadership principle. It's like these guys could have got distracted by
Mhm.
the dealing with the widows and them being fed, but like, no, let's just assign somebody else to it. And one of them was
Mhm.
Stephen. And it's like, oh, this guy got brought on the fold to deal with like the food and the distribution, and he ends up becoming a legend, right?
Mhm.
Um, and but yeah, like I mean, I don't know. I think that if you were walking around and like, hey, Matt, can you deal with the widows and the food? You're like, I guess. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's that big a deal.
Yeah.
But that's your gateway into something much greater
Yeah.
that maybe wouldn't make sense in the moment. So,
Yeah.
anyways,
No, it's powerful stuff, isn't it? Really powerful
yeah,
stuff. And we're really, are you enjoying the journey in your men's group going through Acts? I think it's a brilliant book to work through.
it is. It is. It's amazing. Yes,
Yeah.
lots of nuggets in there.
Yeah. When we decided that we were going to go through the Book of Acts, I went out and bought a commentary series on the Book of Acts. 'Cause I really liked, if I study, man, I like to study. I like to get involved. So I went and bought out a commentary. Well, each commentary is like that thick, and I have 4 of them, all related to the
Wow.
Book of Acts. And the author of the commentary just goes so deep into everything. It's utterly mesmerizing, and I've learned so much going through it. It's been brilliant. So, yeah, great fun. Great fun.
That's a good
So,
reminder. I should pick maybe one of those up. I don't want 4 of those phone books. But
yeah,
uh,
get the abridged version. As you
yes,
probably so
love
just
it.
rewinding a lot actually, Peter. You said that you're 100% Egyptian.
Hmm.
So mum and dad were Egyptian in the US. What was that like growing up in the States as an Egyptian as a kid?
I just shared this with someone the other day this is just my story. I know this is not everybody's story, but for me, I joked that we're in a regular neighborhood, 7 miles from this grocery store they ran, because that's evidently what Arabs do in Florida. They run gas stations. Um,
Okay.
yeah, maybe an inappropriate joke, but it's my joke. We were probably the only non-Caucasian folks in town,
Hmm.
and it was just not a thing. I never thought about it. And I don't know if that
Really?
was my parents doing or what. I never thought about it. We moved to Iowa to a town that was 97% Norwegian.
Hmm.
And we had an African American woman when we, pulled in or, moved in. We were maybe like there 2 weeks. My wife's half Filipino. And she's like, oh, it's so lovely to see a person of color here. And
Wow.
I literally looked at my arms like, are you talking to me? It never. And I'm not kidding. I don't know if it was just like total ignorance or
Well,
if that was my parents like sheltering me from the reality of it. I never
yeah.
thought about it. It just wasn't a thing. It was never a topic of conversation in our
Mm,
home. Like nothing at all.
yeah. That's fascinating. So your wife's half Filipino, you're 100% Egyptian. You must have some beautiful kids. I mean, that just sounds like a phenomenal recipe for beautiful kids, that sort of
It,
genetic heritage.
I am biased, of course, but I think the Phil Egyptian we call it the Phil Egyptians, right? The
The
Phil
Phil
Egyptians.
Egyptians.
it's it's a pretty good recipe. It's working out pretty well. My brother actually married a Melissa who's Filipino as well, which is really really strange. He
Wow.
met her first. So I copied him. But
Yeah, fair play.
yeah, the Phil Egyptians, man. It's a pretty decent recipe.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. Well, I look forward to meeting your kids one day because I'm
Yeah,
going to be like, well, here come the models walking down the catwalk, right? in
I
their
love it.
in their Burberry outfits or something. It's just going to work really well. You know what? In Liverpool, we have. It's been really interesting over the last few years watching. I don't know if you've come across a guy called Mo Salah. Now, Mo Salah
Mhm.
is a football player or soccer player, as you'd call it. He plays for Liverpool. and he is Egyptian, and he has been one of the most successful players ever for the club. Okay,
Mm.
and he came to Liverpool a few years ago when I would say that there was a general sort of, we're not quite sure about anybody from that part of the world still because of, 9/11 and all that sort of stuff. There was still that general sort of uneasiness. And one of the things that I've noticed is since Mo Salah has joined Liverpool is the city has changed its view quite dramatically, I think, because you have this Egyptian football player and because he's really good, everybody's like, we love this guy, and so it's really fascinating to see it, and how actually when Mo Salah goes back to Egypt, he's revered quite a lot actually because of the work that he's been doing in these sort of relations, and so yeah, it's phenomenal. Is there with Egypt? We have some friends actually who are missionaries in Egypt doing some amazing work,
Cool.
church workers over there. And we had the privilege of going over to visit them maybe 13 years ago now. I think Zoe was maybe 3 or 4, or was she a little bit older? I can't remember. Anyway, she was quite young when we went over. And two families went over and stayed with our friends in Cairo. Had the most unbelievable time. We did the pyramids. We did the Nile. We hired a boat and we went along the Nile during sunset, and we just took a load of pizza on the boat, eating pizza on the Nile and sunset. So the kids loved it and they totally remember it. But we also went to Garbage City. There's a place on the outside of the main town where all the rubbish is basically dumped, and the remnant of it's sort of the Coptic Christian community, isn't it, that sort of takes all this trash and recycles it into some quite amazing stuff, really. But it's a beautiful country. Just absolutely love it. It have such good memories of Egypt.
Yeah. It's funny because we never went.
No, have you never? You must have been since, surely.
Never.
You've never been to Egypt?
No.
Wow.
No, never. Yeah. And so it's on the list of we have to. I mean, we have to go. I probably have 860 cousins, aunts, and uncles there. I'm guessing because my mom was like one of 11, and my dad was one of 8 children.
Wow!
Yeah.
So big families.
Huge families, yeah. And so that's one of those things where like, okay, we've got to go for a month and we got to go see everybody,
You have, and go sightseeing, and let me know when you go and I'll put you in touch with our friends because that'll be very, very helpful. And,
that would be awesome.
Yeah, you'll have a great time. Honestly, loved Egypt. So listen, Peter, what's the, as we're coming to the end here, this amazing story, God's faithfulness, on your life, you don't always see it, but in the rear view mirror it becomes clearer, which is a great analogy, and I'll use it in many a sermon going forward, I have no doubt.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks. That's all preachers do. They just steal analogies from one another, right? It's the best way.
Yeah, it's perfect.
It just works super well. If you could go back in time and give yourself a sort of piece of advice to help you through that time, knowing what you now know, what would that be?
Yeah, I would have had the community I have now. I would have liked to have had it before. It's like not waiting for chaos to strike, but instead like being more diligent and building that community. Now we've only been here, less than 4 years, and so from Iowa. But I think having that support structure in place before it struck would have been much, much better, and much, much healthier. And it's not to say we didn't have support. We did. I just think we didn't have the depth of relationship I know that we didn't have the depth of relationship that we have right now. And so I think for the listener, just being deliberate about being surrounded by a band of believers that are going to be with you like through thick and thin.
Yeah.
And that you can be there for them in the same way. It's really powerful, Matt. It's like incredibly powerful and incredibly supportive. Because in those moments, like you need real, just like tactical help. Like we have 3 other kids and they stayed with our friends for like 5 days. I don't know what we would have done if they didn't have someone to hang out with and take care of them and feed them.
Mm.
And then when she got out of the hospital, we had meals brought to us. Somebody started like a meal train or something.
Yeah.
We had meals brought to us every single day, I think for 4 straight weeks.
Wow.
We didn't have to think about food. But that was just kind of more of a miracle, right? Like we didn't have structure in place for that sort of thing. We were newer to the church that we were going to at the time and still going to now. So I think that, that's my advice is specifically for the listener. It's like, that support system's so incredibly powerful. And I think
Yeah.
that, um, in this time, like this age, we're probably more separated than we've ever been from other
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
because we're independent and self-made and whatever made up, stupid comments that we make about things in life. We're not self-made and we're not independent, and we need other people, and we were made for that. And so I think to go out of your way to make sure that you know your community and and you know your neighborhood and you know your neighbors, and those things are really, really important, for them as much as for you.
Yeah. No, great advice. Very, very good advice. And it's super powerful stuff. Like you say, you know, life is a team sport. And what's that old African proverb that it takes a village to raise a child? It's
Yeah.
um, it's it takes a village to raise an adult. It feels like, but I think you're right. I think the power of that is quite extraordinary. That community is quite extraordinary. Um, Tell us a little bit about the coaching that you're doing. How you got
Yeah.
into that?
Yeah. Very long story short is I was, like I said earlier in the interview, I was on a journey kind of self-awareness. And my friend posed it to me this way, when I was kind of lamenting years ago about not knowing who I'm supposed to be and what I'm supposed to be
Mm,
working on. I just didn't feel like I was doing what God wanted me to be doing on this earth. And so he's like, just figure out what your superpowers are, what you want the work to look like, and what you want the incentives to be. And so, hiring a coach for myself, I just focused on that first question, like, what are my superpowers?
mm,
And long story short, what came out of that, plus another, 9 months of time passing, is discovering the ability to coach
mm,
and my ability to connect with people and to tease out the solutions to problems and help them discover them on their own. And so, the coaching I'm doing right now is leadership coaching. We're doing, group cohorts, and we're going through a year-long journey of self-awareness and figuring out, your tendencies and your primary voices, and, like the shadow of your personalities and what it's like to be
mm,
on the other side of you, how not to undermine your influence by some of the things and tendencies that you have, how to create new patterns and actions in your life that lead to a fresher and better reality for yourself. And so that's what I've been doing, and it's been probably the most fulfilling work that I've ever done. And, what's funny is that there's been glimpses of this throughout my entire life. I just never noticed it.
right.
And I think for me, it just came easily. Just making friends and,
Hmm.
constantly being pinged for advice, and having lunches and coffees and, breakfast and dinners with people asking for advice on business. And I always wondered, like, why do they keep coming to me? There's a lot of stuff I have not figured out. Like most of it, I haven't. And it just happened to do with just my natural ability to inquire and help them find a solution to the problem, that's usually right in front of their face. They just can't see it. And
Yeah.
so, that's just been literally the most impactful thing. And then bringing God into the equation and praying before every coaching call and bringing biblical principles into it. It's really fascinating. And I was telling a friend the other day this. He goes, "Oh, you're in full time ministry," and I just sat there like dumbfounded, like, "Yeah, I guess I am."
Yeah.
And just realizing, like, all of us, like, our life is ministry. This is why we're here.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're behind the pulpit or not. It doesn't matter.
Hmm.
Like, this is your life as ministry. And
Yeah.
how are you shining your light? And are you a lampstand in your community? And are you using the superpowers God gave you for building the kingdom and, helping others build their faith and being a support, and just out there doing? And so, it's been really, really cool, Matt.
Yeah. I can imagine. I can imagine. I like that. Find your superpowers. I think it will probably say that in the Message translation if you read it carefully. Find your superpowers.
That's right.
I love that. Listen, Peter, it's been great chatting, man. It's been great having you on this podcast and just hearing your heart and hearing your story. If people want to reach out, if they want to connect with you, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, I created a download for you guys. They can just go to petergift.com, and it's a leader guide. It's just like 5 steps to helping you become a better leader. They can connect with me there. They can have that free resource. They can contact me through there as well. And there's a reason that I didn't say Peter Awad, because it's the hardest 4-letter last name to say, right?
Yeah, we would pronounce it Awad, but you pronounce it Awad.
Awad, you say Awad. They're like, is it Atwood? Is there a T in there? No, there's not. So anyways.
So petergift.com.
Yeah, Peter Gift. It will redirect you to peteralwood.com, but I don't need to say that now, right?
Right? Try both, Peter, see what happens.
Yeah. Maybe you get to Atwood. I don't know where you're going to go. So, yeah. But they can have that resource, man, and I think it's a great way to connect. So
yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Peter, thanks for coming on the show, man. It has been a great, phenomenal conversation. Really, really appreciate it. We will, of course, link to your info in the show notes, which you can get along for free with the transcript. And you just go to what'sthestorypodcast.com, or if you sign up to the newsletter, they will come direct to your inbox. Peter, what a legend. Thanks, man. I think you're awesome. Thanks. Looking forward to meeting the model family, and it's been a great podcast. Really enjoyed it.
It's been fun, man. Thank you so much, Matt.
No problem. So there you have it. What a great conversation. Huge thanks again to Peter for joining me today. Remember to check out Crowd Online Church at www.crowd.church, even if you might not see the point of church, because we are a digital church on a quest to discover how Jesus helps us live a more meaningful life. We are a community, this community that Peter's been talking about, a space to explore the Christian faith, and a place where you can contribute and grow, and you are welcome at Crowd Church. Now be sure to subscribe to What's the Story wherever you get your podcast from, because we have got yet more great conversations lined up, and I don't want you to miss any of them. And in case no one has told you yet today, you are awesome. Yes, you are. Created awesome. It's just a burden you have to bear. It's just the way God's made you. It's the way God made Peter, his daughter, his family, me too. It's just a burden. What's the Story is produced by Crowd Online Church. You can find our entire archive of episodes on your favorite podcast app. The team that makes this show possible is Saraf Bainon, Estella Robin, and Tanya Hutzalak. Our theme song was written by Josh Edmondson. And as I said, if you'd like to read the transcript or show notes, just head over to the website, what'sthestorypodcast.com, where you can also sign up for the newsletter. That's it from me. That's it from the phenomenal Peter. It's been great talking to you this week. Wherever you are in the world, have a great week. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.